In February 2007, retired police officer and curator of the Profus database, Gary Heseltine, received an email from Police Constable Phil Hutchings with regards to a UFO sighting that occurred some 20 years earlier. Hutchings, who began his career in law enforcement in January 1980 and who was still on duty at the time of contacting Heseltine, recalled that it was June 20th, 1987 when he had his sighting. He and more than a dozen other officers were protecting one of Britain's most famous ancient landmarks, Stonehenge. It was the summer solstice, and many people had made the pilgrimage to the area to observe the sunrise over Stonehenge. Somewhere between 12 to 15 officers were guarding Stonehenge overnight, going into Midsummer's Day. Hutchings described to Heseltine the strange thing he and the other officers observed. It was dry, with a clear sky, so we all looked at the stars, planets, and satellites throughout the night. Many hours into the night, probably the early hours of Midsummer's Day, I saw another satellite starting its track across the sky. But as we had seen so many, no one was interested. However, that changed when I saw it change direction with a perfect 90-degree turn. I attracted the attention of the other officers, and within a short space of time, we all watched this object crossing the sky in amazement, as it constantly did these 90-degree turns, almost in a mapping type of maneuver. At no stage did it lose speed, but zigzag across the sky, following roughly the track of normal satellites. Everyone agreed it was not of this planet. According to Hutchings, this incident was not reported to senior officers, for obvious reasons, though at least one other officer, then currently serving in the fraud department, who was there on that night, was willing to speak to Heseltine and corroborate the story. Heseltine spent about 4 months looking into the case. He also spoke to the other officer, who indeed confirmed the account. In the May 2007 issue of UFO Monthly, he gave a detailed accounting of the sighting. He noted that the UFO observed by the officers made 90-degree turns, always at a constant speed. There was no acceleration or deceleration. The duration of the sighting was approximately 15 to 20 minutes and was made by normal vision only. Hutchings recalled that it was a bright star-like object that made no sound whatsoever. There was no lighting interference or clouds, and the night sky was star-filled. The 12 to 15 officers were deployed around the monument at regular points. 2 police people carrier vans were parked nearby. As for the public, Hutchings noted that he saw no one in the vicinity of the monument at the time of the sighting. The other officer who spoke to Heseltine confirmed that he did witness something strange flying across the sky on that night, but his recollection of the event was not as detailed as Hutchings, possibly due to the passage of time. Heseltine ultimately concluded that the sighting was of a genuine UFO. I am not aware of any other flying object of a terrestrial origin that can perform such high-speed maneuvers. The precise nature of the turns, and especially given the 15 to 20 minute duration of the sighting, implies a high degree of precision and intelligence. No atmospheric phenomenon has been reported that could duplicate these high-speed turns. Given the above, I have no hesitation in thinking that what Phil and his colleagues saw that night was nothing less than a genuine ET craft. Over the years, I have covered some very strange creatures, and anyone who listens to this channel on a regular will know what I'm talking about. Though I recently happened upon an account that might just be the strangest of all. I have reached out to the witness, someone going by the name DD, looking for more details, but to date have not received a reply. The account is also not dated, nor is a location given, though I assume that it's somewhere in the US. I really wanted to share the story as I found it quite amusing and in keeping with the type of stuff I do around here. According to the witness, he was 15 years old when his father took him out on a hunting trip for the very first time. It was around the middle of the day, and he had found a spot on a steep hill where a tree had fallen. He sat down on the log and began picking off squirrels. I was there for about 45 minutes and had probably 8 squirrels, and one I just clipped and was screaming in a lot of pain. To this day, I feel bad about it. Next thing I know, I was being charged by this huge squirrel. It had this crazy hair and was twice the size of a regular squirrel, running full steam on the log I was sitting on. I took 5 panic-filled shots and thought it would be my last, but little Rambo didn't flinch once and just jumped over my head off into the woods. Dee claims that he gathered up his kills and quickly left the area. When he got back to camp, he immediately told his father, who just laughed. Thinking back, it was pretty funny, Dee remembered. Ultimately, Dee put the odd experience out of his mind. A few weeks later, however, something very strange would happen that would cause him to reflect back on that moment. As a kid, I always had trouble sleeping, and even as an adult. Anyway, a couple weeks after our hunting trip, I couldn't sleep. My room was downstairs. Everyone else was upstairs. So on this night, I decided to try and sleep on the floor. I had a big closet that was to the left of the room and right next to where I was laying down. It didn't have a door. It was actually under the stairs. So I'm laying on my right side facing the closet, just about to fall asleep, when something grabbed my right forearm. So I start screaming, trying to get this thing off of me. It scared me even more when I started to feel this thing's features. It had a huge head and was wrinkly with a pointed nose. It was wearing clothes and was 3 foot tall. Now I was punching and doing everything I could, but it wouldn't let go. Its hand covered half my arm. The first light I tried to turn on wouldn't, so I lunged over for the closet light. It, thank God, worked, and it was gone just like that. In the years since the incident, Dee senses that the creature he encountered that night was a type of forest wraith. In his words, a squirrel shapeshifter protecting his woods that he believes followed him home to give him a good scare, possibly payback for injuring the squirrel during his hunt. Skeptics will most likely chalk up Dee's experience to sleep paralysis and a hypnagogic hallucination, possibly brought on by the guilt he felt at injuring the squirrel, though Dee claims that this creature, whatever it was, had grabbed him, and that the experience was real and not something conjured in the mind. As well, there are people who believe that our forests are being guarded by these types of strange entities, taking the forms of various types of cryptids, shadowy beings, and even Bigfoot. I personally have no idea with regards to the veracity of the account, as my attempts to contact the witness have failed, as I've stated, though in the world of the paranormal, the thought of an angry human-sized squirrel taking revenge on a hunter isn't that far-fetched.